Welcome to One Brewer Way, joined here by John Shear, Candy Morganroth, and Karlos Morales. So let's start with Karlos. Karlos is in Phoenix. He is one of the prospects for the Brewers. Welcome to the show, Karlos.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm
So
happy to
glad to
be
have you
on.
here. Glad to have you as a host here. I mean, we get an inside perspective of what's going on with the organization having you here. So tell us, I know you just got down to Phoenix a couple of days ago. Uh, First, tell us a little bit about the facilities, what it's like down there, and what you've been doing since you've been down there.
Uh, Facility's great. We have a great environment. Um, we actually just built that facility not too long, a couple years back, so it's brand new. It's really nice. The environment there is amazing. You know, you have all the big league guys. You see them in the weight room and everything. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. So when you got down there, you had your physical. You were saying before we went on the air, and you started working out. Um, so tell everyone a little bit about what your day is like, because most people don't know what happens when you're in spring training, and what kind of workouts you have. So give us an idea of what your full day would look like.
Yeah, so we usually get up like around 7. Thankfully, I have a roommate that drives, so we get to sleep in a little bit more. But yeah, we usually head to the field like around 8 o'clock. Get there 8:30. Um, Eat breakfast. Uh, After breakfast, we get ready, get ready to go out on the field. Do our mobility, all that, stretch out, and then we start our catch play. Do some PFPs depending on what we have that day, if we have a bullpen or just regular catch. And then after all that, we take it in, get our workout done, and call it a day.
So how many hours are you at the field right now in spring training?
I'll say about like 7 hours.
Wow.
Okay.
Seven, yeah. Depending on what we have. I know like if we don't have anything that day, if we don't have any bullpens or stuff like that, we usually get out a little earlier. But if we have a bullpen that day, we still have to work out, take care of our workout that same day, so we get out a little bit later.
Now, do you try any new pitches like during spring training? Like, do you get to choose if you try a new pitch, or is that like your pitching coach encourages you to try if you want to, if you want to add a changeup or if you want to
Yeah.
add like a slider or whatever?
Right now, no. I'm trying to actually master my 3 pitches right now, so I'm not too focused on throwing another pitch. Um, but I feel like if I did right now would be a great time. But I gotta start working on my changeup. I don't have a changeup right now. I do, but I don't. Um, but yeah, usually right now you just stick to what you throw. If the coaches tell you, hey, I think this pitch will work better for you, then for right now it's just mastering the pitches that I have right now.
So as a pitcher, do you study your like film? Do you record and watch how you throw, or how do you work out besides just throwing?
No, yeah. So we have this thing called TrackMan, and it basically tells us the movement on the pitches and how they move, uh, the amount of inches they move. So we study that. We have film. Like if anything's off about our mechanics, we could definitely go back, go to the video room, study film, see what's going on, and fix it from there.
That's got to be fascinating how, nobody really thinks about film in baseball. Film is predominantly, everyone thinks football, everyone thinks, the lineman, the quarterback. They study film for hours,
Oh yeah,
but in baseball, it's important because the mechanics, you can see if you're off when you throw your pitch, where your plant foot is landing, where you
right.
end up on the mound. how difficult is it to make sure when you're throwing the same pitch that you have the same motion on every thrower? Is that something that just comes natural after doing it so much?
Yeah, it definitely comes natural. I mean, that's where you practice and catch play. I mean, you take catch play very serious just because you're repeating your mechanics every time. So it comes natural after doing it for so long. I try not to think when I'm throwing. I try not to think about if my leg is landing on time or if my arm is on time. I try not to think about that. Just doing. If it doesn't feel good, then go back, watch some film, see what I'm doing wrong, and go from there.
So, one of the questions: how do you guys keep loose, though? I mean, it sounds as though it's very technical right now. I mean, everything that you're doing. So, how do you guys make that fun? Because I would imagine just being very technical all day. You want to have fun while you're doing it because make it a little bit more enjoyable the day move. What do you guys do to loosen up the environment?
I mean, you're playing baseball. You're getting paid to play baseball, so
That's true.
that right there is you're blessed to have that opportunity. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a game. You got to have fun while doing it. If you're not having fun, then there's a problem there. But you just do what you've been doing your whole life.
So, Carlos, what made you decide to go into pitching?
Um, Well, when I was first getting scouted, they actually liked me as a pitcher more than a hitter. I did not. I liked pitching, don't get me wrong, but I love hitting. Um, they told me I had a better opportunity pitching, so I was like, all right, if that's what's gonna get me there, then let's roll with it. But I learned to love pitching as the years went on. When you have a little bit of success, it becomes more fun. So, I mean, I got to experience that last year, so it's fun for me now.
So,
So one of
so
our listeners has a great question. Is there a certain pitcher you're trying to model your game after, or are you just being Carlos Morales? Whatever you do is you.
No, I'm being myself. I'm being myself. I'm not trying to copy anybody. I feel like I'm one of a kind. I don't really try to go after anybody or copy anybody. Definitely do have role models that I do look up to. Um, Julio Urias from the Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw, Josh Hader, but no, definitely myself.
now, let's talk about the pitch clock because I mean, I feel like that's the elephant in the room. We haven't talked about that. So, has that affected you when you go out and pitch? Has that affected you mentally? How does that affect your wind up? Like, how does that affect whenever you go about your business? Because I feel like pitchers are now having to rush, batters are having to rush, and you're not really getting to go. Because I mean, baseball players are typically, I mean, you're regimented in a way,
Right.
right?
I mean, there's a couple times last year in season where I took too long, but for the most part, it really hasn't affected me. As soon as the catcher hands the ball to me, I'm ready to rock on the mound again. So it really doesn't affect me. I know for some other guys, they like, take their time, take a breather, walk around the mound, but for me, it hasn't really affected me. Um, I try not to think about it too much. Just get the ball, get on the mound, see what pitch you're gonna throw, and then whatever time you have left, use it. But if you're ready to go, then
Do you
just get after
notice
it.
do you notice it like behind, if it's behind the umpire, it's on the wall. Do you notice it or is it just kind of
No, you definitely take a few glances. You take a few glances over there just to see, okay, do I have time to take a breather, think about where I'm gonna throw this, how I'm gonna throw it. You do think about it, or if you don't want to throw the pitch that the catcher's calling, you're like, shoot, okay, how much time do I have? So It has its pros and cons, but for the most part, it really hasn't affected me. I feel like for the batter, it's a little worse on their end just because they have no time to think. It's just all right. I got to be in by this time, and it's ready to rock.
So with that, I mean, before you became guy who got drafted and played high school or whatever, were you a baseball fan? Because it's safe to say I think we're all baseball fans here, right?
Love the game
A
of
hundred,
baseball.
a hundred
Absolutely love
percent, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. You know what's
I
funny is that
yeah.
my dad actually did not watch baseball at all. Like he was not a big baseball fan. He was all about football, basketball, and he's like, man, he's like, I wanted you to play football. He's like, but you like baseball, so I mean, that's cool. If you're good at it, then I'm supporting you 100%. But yeah, that was kind of funny.
That is pretty cool. Yeah. Now he's probably a huge baseball fan, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But as a baseball fan, the whole concept of a pitch clock just doesn't make any sense. And listen, I'm East Coast, New York. The Yankees and Red Sox play 4-hour games like they're giving out candy. Every time they play, it's like a 4-hour game. And because it's the Yankees and Red Sox, you just deal with it. Baseball to me is an untimed game. Pitchers need to be able to take time to think, to sort through the cycle, pick the pitch they want. Batters need time to step out of the box, compose themselves. I'm sure you throw a hard fastball. I want to make sure in my head I'm ready to stand in there, protect myself if you're a little off. If you're a little wild at some point, or if you maybe you throw it outside, then I have a chance to fix myself in the box to try to reach it if I have to protect the plate. So having that untimed gives you such an advantage. Now that there's a time, it just seems like you have to rush through everything, and I don't know if you could be as prepared. You know,
Yeah. You know what's funny is I actually saw a video. It was Ben Joyce, kid from I think he went to Tennessee, throws like 100. And his first game, his debut game in spring training, he threw a pitch, almost hitting the guy's head. And the guy had to get right back in there, like not even process what just happened, just get right back in there and face him again. So I was like, damn, it's tough for the hitter. It definitely
So
scares you.
So I wonder if you almost get hit, but you don't get hit, you get knocked in the dirt. How much time does the ump give you to get back up? Like, does that pitch clock start right away when you're laying in the dirt, but you didn't get beamed? Like, does the pitch clock start right away and it's like, hey, you got to get up, wipe the dirt off, and be ready? Like, I wonder how that works in regard to the pitch clock. Do you know?
Uh, as
Does
soon
it
as
start
as
right
soon as
away?
as soon as the pitcher gets the ball, that's when it starts.
Okay.
So that's when the time starts. Yeah.
So really,
Um,
you could ask for the ball back from your catcher if you brush a guy off, but you don't hit him and he falls back. You ask for the ball back from the catcher. I mean, the pitch clock starts. Really, it could be a strategic thing where I mean, you and the catcher could really start that clock and make the batter, jump back in before he's even ready. So
oh
I
yeah,
mean, it
before he
could
has
turn into a strategic thing.
yeah, definitely. Before he has that anything to process. I mean, there's a video of the umpire grabbing some balls from the dugout, and the batter's just there waiting for him to get back, and umpire looks back at the clock, and the clock is at 0, and he calls it a strike on him. So he was all
Oh,
like, yeah, he was all like, wait, what? He's like, I was waiting for you to get back so I can, step in the box. But yeah, they called him they rung him up on that. So it was
wow.
that was weird. Yeah.
So how do you feel about and I don't like it so far. How do you feel about a game ending on a strike or a ball called because of this? Like for example, we saw the one game in spring training. It was like bottom of the ninth. It was a 1-run game, full count, bases loaded, and he didn't get back in time in the box, and the game was called. Like, how do you feel about a game ending? I mean, you play 9 innings and then it ends on a pitch clock.
Yeah, that yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like if the game is is flowing through, then you shouldn't be too strict on the pitch clock. Like if it's at a good time, as long as the pitch is not taking forever, you gotta know when to call it. But yeah, that's the pitch. It has its pros and cons. It definitely has its pros and cons. But I feel like if the game is going by smoothly, at least be a little more lenient. But
That's fair.
So, Carlos, I was reading that now with the changes and everything like that, that actually in spring training, the number of steals are up and that the success rate has gone way up. The success rate is like at 82%, where last year it was only at 73%.
yeah,
How do you feel about that, or what do you attribute that to? Is it part of the pitch clock, or
it definitely is part of the pitch clock. I mean, if you're, let's say, I think last year we only got two pickoffs. And once you waste those two pickoffs, the runner can basically time you. You can't throw back to first at all because or else it's a balk. So plus the time running down. So let's say you're at 3 seconds and you're just standing there. I had to get rid of it before it hit zero. So you could definitely time that. Plus you got bigger bases this year, so yeah,
So, so you only get so many pickoffs per batter? Is
Yes,
that?
this year it's 2 per batter.
I was gonna ask,
Yeah.
like, couldn't you just keep throwing over? But that answers that question because I
No,
didn't know
yeah.
that they limited the number.
Yeah,
Of,
so
I mean, that changes a lot.
now what do you do after you throw it twice? I mean, the runner basically has every right to take a huge lead.
Yeah, you gotta mix up your timing. You gotta stand there for 5 seconds set, and then next pitch, stay there for 2 seconds set, just so he doesn't get, what rhythm you're going into when you're releasing the ball.
Are you allowed to step off? Are you allowed to step off if
No,
you've You
no,
can't.
no.
too?
Yeah,
It's such
It's
a
going to be an interesting year.
yeah,
it's such a different way of looking at baseball. I mean, it, it's
100%.
it's that was like to me the beauty of baseball. There was no time. It was everything had a rhythm. Every pitcher was different. Every batter was different. They all had their own routines, and it just was. I get that we want games to be quicker. Because
I don't. I like a 3.5 hour game. Like that doesn't bother me at all. Like I'm
I could
one of
do
the few.
3
It don't
hours
bother
is
me.
nice.
Like
3
if I
hours
pay,
is cool.
like if I pay all that money to go to a park, I pay for parking, I pay for gas, I pay for food and all that. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna enjoy myself because think about if the lines are really long for the bathroom or for concessions. Like think about how many batters you're gonna miss because you're standing in line for concessions, and the batters are gonna go by a lot faster now. Think about how much action you're gonna miss, like as a fan. That kind of sucks. I mean, in my opinion, like I'm gonna miss. Like if you're miss your favorite player because the line was long, and you're waiting to get your pretzel or something. That's probably gonna happen quite a bit. I would imagine in stadiums, which kind of sucks.
It's really weird. I mean, these rules, which are meant to speed up the game, are changing the way the game is played. You know, I don't know. I look at it this way: is the pitch clock bringing fans into baseball? Is someone going to all of a sudden on a Tuesday turn on the Brewers game or the Yankee game or even the Angels game because there's a pitch clock and the game's going to end in 2 hours and 20 minutes rather than 3 hours? Probably not. If they're not going to watch the baseball game because they're not fans of baseball, where John, Candy, and myself are, and we're going to sit there and poor Karlos has got to get that pitch out in 20 seconds. He threw over the first twice. And now, our team's going to lose because a guy stole a base because Karlos can't throw it at first. And I'm going to be angry at the game now. So I get where rule changes are good, but is this one of those changes that are bringing fans to the game or hurting the fans that actually watch the game?
Yeah, I feel like if you're a baseball fan, man, doesn't matter how long the game is, it's gonna last. You're watching baseball live, so I mean,
Yeah.
So, Carlos, one of the other changes they did is they are not allowing the infielders to shift like they did before, and they can't be playing out in the outfield as well. But the outfielders can move and be stacked in one. So, does that change where you're pitching to certain batters?
Yeah, I mean, mainly to lefties, just because I like throwing inside to lefties. So I mean, they're obviously going to pull the ball, but it definitely changes everything. I mean, let's just hope nobody gets on base when I'm pitching or nobody hits it that way.
Well, because let's
But
face it, with the pitch clock, you don't have a lot of time for the outfielders to do a lot of shifting either.
A lot of
Right.
running in the outfield now.
Yes.
So, Carlos, how much strategy? I mean, everybody always watches baseball, and we're all, we all think we can manage the team better than any manager. How much strategy is going on throughout a game with the pitcher, catcher, manager, coaches?
I mean, every batter is different, so you gotta have a different approach to them. There's some guys that hit the fastball outside, so you can't throw him a fastball outside, or there's another batter that loves fastball outside, inside. You can't throw him inside. So I mean, there's a bunch of strategy that goes behind it. Some guys are really good at hitting the breaking ball. Some guys aren't. So you got to keep in mind on who you're facing and how to pitch to them.
It's really fascinating to think because, we've all watched baseball since we were young. We've all played. Candy was telling us before we went on the air how she was in the long ball actually on the field at, what was the name of the old stadium? I forgot now.
County Stadium.
At County Stadium, yes. So
It'll
back when the
always be
Brewers,
Miller Park to me. It'll always be Miller Park.
No, it was before.
this
before
was
I
before.
meant for me. For me, it'll always be Miller.
So I mean that was back when they were the AL. So we've all grown up with baseball. So that to think of all this strategy, it's weird. I wonder if that's changed throughout the years. And I would love to talk to an old timer and see, just to compare. And maybe throughout the year we'll get somebody that was, that played for the Brewers back, maybe 30, 40 years ago, and see what the difference is now, kind of comparing it to what you're going through on your journey to get to one Miller place, one Miller Way. So let's talk about what we should be expecting this season of the show. So I know we're going to line up some great guests, Carlos, whichever team he goes to. And we kind of have an idea, but nothing's set in stone yet. I'm sure Carlos will be able to bring some great guests on from there. We'll also get some guests on our end, some people that cover the Brewers as well. We'll talk about what's going on throughout the whole organization, from the MLB all the way down to the minors, what to expect, what prospects are rising, what prospects may be struggling, and we'll have Carlos, who is there every day on whatever level he'll be at, where he'll be our eyes on the field, as well as we'll be able to see it from off the field of what's happening. So what about that actually excites everybody the most here? We'll start with you, Carlos.
Yeah. I have a few guys that I'm excited to bring in. One of them is Cam Robinson. He's on the 40-man now. Same draft class. He's got quite a story to tell. So I mean, I feel like he'll be great for this podcast.
That's awesome. I can't wait to talk to him. What about you, Candy? What about the whole show excites you the most?
Just talking about my hometown team, like this is the team I grew up with. My dad was an usher there for over 25 years. Just, it's a piece of home, and I don't live in Wisconsin anymore. So just talking about home always makes me happy.
That's awesome. What about you, John?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to talk Brewers baseball. Hopefully the Brewers can get back to that team they were a couple years ago that was dominant. Christian Yelich was in MVP form. So hopefully the Brewers can get back to that form, and hopefully we'll have playoff baseball in Milwaukee hopefully, all those things happen. And most importantly, hopefully we get to see Karlos in the majors some point later this season. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for his journey as he continues, to ascend in the majors. He's doing a great job, one of the top lefty prospects in the organization. So I'm excited to have Karlos here.
So, I mean, obviously, I'm going to say working with Karlos is going to be a treat to have somebody that's, living it every day. We get to talk about it for a half hour to an hour a week, but having Karlos that's actually, there every day in our eyes and ears is going to be phenomenal. I just think talking baseball with three other people that enjoy the game as much as I do, granted, we didn't get to play as Karlos is doing, but I know that we all love the game, and we're going to have some great conversations as the year goes on. I think the Brewers are set to be a pretty good team. I could definitely see a playoff run. We'll see, and I'm sure we're going to have a long year to talk about that, and we're going to talk about where Karlos is progressing, where he's going to end up as the year goes on, what happens with his career as well, which is kind of special to think about it. We're not only a Brewer show, we're also almost like a Karlos show, which is interesting. I kind of like that because, we're going to get to really track his career in a way that most shows don't get to do.
It's
So
unique.
that it really is. It's going to be a fun season in that respect. And I think between all the different guests we're going to have throughout the season, talking about the Brewers and what's happening in baseball, we're set to have a lot of fun. The time slot is not going to be at 11 o'clock on Tuesdays. This was the pilot episode. We wanted to just get started to show everybody what we had. I do hope that everybody enjoyed it. But before we wrap up, we'll just go around and let everyone know where everyone can find everybody. Karlos, we'll start with you.
Yeah, you can find me on my Instagram, Karlos Morales, Karlos M_03, and on Twitter, Karlos M03.
Candy?
You can find me at South Florida Tribune at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. We have our own YouTube channel, South Florida Tribune. You can find me on Sideline Sports, though. You never know what show I'm going to be on besides this one Brewers Way, which I really love. Excited to work with you, Karlos.
Thank you, likewise.
John?
Of course, Blue Hawks 13. I'm a semi-fun follow on Twitter. Blue Hawks 13 NFL on Instagram. I post a lot of Super Bowl and NFL draft and NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame type of pictures, me with athletes. So, check me out on Instagram because I post a lot of cool pictures, especially me with Tua, so that's cool for me. I enjoy that. So, yeah, follow me on those places.
So JB_ the program, Sideline Sports, every Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you tune it in. We cover all sports. South Florida Tribune, Wednesdays at 8. Cubfidential, which same division. I get to talk Cubs baseball for an hour every week. So I'll know the rivals pretty well. And of course here on one Brewer Way. I look forward to a great season working with all you guys. Make sure you subscribe to Sideline Sports YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at Sideline Sports 1. Make sure you're also following the South Florida Tribune. They do a great job over there. We appreciate Candy coming over here to work with us. Karlos, I'm excited to hear what happened this week, next week when we talk on the show. Hear what drills you did, how close you are to game ready, and what we can look forward to all season. But until next week, guys, we'll see you later. Again, this is our pilot episode. We look forward to being with you all year. Have a great night, guys.